Angela, do you recognize her? Marissa. Dr. Sulik. Dr. Ratus. And Dr. Hien.
Thank you all so much for coming tonight. This film was really special to make. Just a quick story before we start the panel. Right when we started this project, it was March of 2020, so you can only imagine the kind of chaos that ensued after that. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to do the project at all, how we were going to be able to continue it, how we were going to be able to match the rules that needed to be honored at Center for Great Expectations to keep everybody healthy. And so from about 2020 March to about 2021, we were kind of all in a state of like, how do we move forward? And I went to the center one day to film, and Marissa sat down in front of my camera and just basically poured out her story to me kind of unexpectedly. I had just gone there to film the music class that day. And afterwards, I actually went upstairs and I talked to Jen Unger because I didn't even know if I should have filmed what I just filmed, and I wanted to make sure that we were okay, or if I needed to delete the footage or what we needed to do. And so Marissa's really the one who helped us get it kicked off by telling part of her story that day. So it's been just an incredible honor to work with the women who were so brave in telling their stories, and to work with the professionals who fight so hard for them. So a round of applause for everybody up here. So we're going to take questions from the audience, and then I'm also going to ask some questions up here, so feel free to raise your hand if you do have a question. Does anyone have one right off the bat here? Okay, well, I'll start then with some of my questions, but if anybody does, just raise your hand. So I guess my first question, Peg, is for you. What's the future of the Center for Great Expectations? What are the plans here?
How much time do you have? we have to expand, clearly, and we have great partners with Robert Wood Johnson Rutgers. We have great partners with Meridian Hackensack. Our friends from Meridian are here this evening. We have incredible donors. We have an amazing board of directors, and that drives everything, because as everyone in this audience knows, the problems that we're dealing with are astronomical. I mean, addiction is exploding, and treatment for women with children is just frankly unheard of. I mean, less than 2% of programs treat women with children. And as you've seen, that's the secret sauce. If a woman can be with her child, you actually have a chance to break the cycle. And that's what we do. So,
thank you. Oh, we got a question here. So the question's for Marissa and Angela. How are your guys' kids doing?
You on here? Can everyone hear me? Yeah, I can hear myself. So my son is 5 years old. He'll be 6 in September. He's thriving in school. He starts first grade in September. He plays sports. He just started T-ball this year, which he absolutely loves. And the smile that child has on his face every single day, you know, is a result of the work that I put in here at CGE. So I am so proud of my son today, and the connection that we have, where he's able to communicate with me how he feels and what's going on, and we can discuss what's going on, and nothing's hidden, and you know, it's just it's an amazing relationship today. It's an amazing relationship today, and I definitely have to thank CGE for the help and guidance in that journey.
Me and my son, we've been together now for about 3 years. Him and I, we're doing great. We're building a relationship. It's taking time, but you know, as mother and son, we're doing pretty good, and you know, he's proud of me and I'm proud of him. He's doing so much. He's 10 years old now. I love waking up every day and seeing him. You know, he smiles all the time, and he's just, we're really getting in a great relationship. And Ava, she's 3 now, and she's, you know, talking now. She's a little Miss Independent. She's funny. She's doing great. And as brother and sister, they're doing amazing. They love each other. It's a love-hate relationship as siblings, but my son takes such good care of her, and I couldn't be more proud of him. And I'm just, you know, proud where they are, where I'm at. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the audience? Okay, I have a question for you, Reed. Can you talk a little bit about, is it often that somebody comes in, for instance, the state that Marissa was in, that you're able to see them finally have a chance to get healthy and maintain that?
I think that it's far too common where we don't take the time and make the effort to really see the potential of a person, no matter what they're exhibiting when it comes to their symptoms. I was thinking about, Marissa, and your story in coming here today, because I flew in from Minnesota today for this. And, you know, one of the things that has come out of the work that CGE is doing is just seeing people who they are and holding them through the healing that they need to experience and take on. And so often, like in hospital settings, especially when Marissa first came in, it's far too common to kind of punish somebody for exhibiting their pathology. You know, when somebody's sick and somebody's having symptoms, a lot of times nurses in the hospitals, doctors, therapists can get frustrated and even angry at somebody for not doing what they think they should be doing. And I think there was a comment that I think, Jennifer, you made it in the video, that was about care that they deserve, right? And I just thought that was really well said, because there's a difference between, I mean, it's not just that people come in and they need care, but there's a quality of care and a compassionate type of care that each of you deserved, you know? And I think that's what, Peg, you have created the space to hold women through that experience and giving them the care that they deserve. It's extraordinary.
First, I want you to know that Roberto Munoz is in the audience. He's the CEO of Parker. And Marissa just got her, didn't you just finish your nursing assistant? Yes. Aren't you going to be a sheriff or something?
So if it turned into nursing, it's now law enforcement, sheriff's office.
There you go.
It was actually really exciting because I met Marissa right after she came into the program, and then I got to go to her first day as her nursing school. So it was actually really amazing to get to go through that journey with her. So, any other questions from the audience? Okay, so Denise, I have a question for you. I know in the film you talk about the implementation clip and how complex sometimes it is to get the research that is done in universities actually to be implemented in society. What has it been like having a relationship with the Center for Great Expectations?
Well, it's been amazing. I was recruited to Rutgers to direct the Center of Alcohol and Substance Use Studies, and my entire career I've spent testing different kinds of interventions for trauma for individuals who also struggle with addiction. And this came from very early work when I actually started out my career, I don't even know if you know this, as a child psychologist working in New York City in Harlem and Morningside Heights with kids. And working to help reunite the kids with their moms who were struggling with substance use problems, and how many barriers there were, and how difficult it was, and how stigmatized the moms were for having, you know, where they were getting their own treatment and being in recovery, but the difficulty, and from the point of view of working with the kids, feeling like allowing the child to have a relationship with their mom and reunite was the healthiest thing for the family, for everyone, and yet it was so hard to do. And so I've spent my career testing different ways of trying to do interventions and being able and showing that trauma focus. So that was one of the big points made in the film, was how important it was to look beyond. And each of you really, you know, so articulately described like the experience of feeling like you had gone to these treatment programs and gotten treated for the symptoms, but not for the center or the cause. And so that was what, you know, was what I spent all of my, you know, career doing. But it's still really hard to find programs that do that. And so to come here and to engage with Center for Great Expectations, this amazing clinical partner, and all of you wonderful clinicians and team, and you know, you're doing like the gold standard. And we would wish, and what we're working now on trying to help everybody sort of do, is to bottle the magic for the rest of the world, so that you can scale up, and so that it's not only the people who get to come to the center to get this amazing care, but hoping that there can be more of a dissemination across the nation, because this treatment program is such a model. So it's just been an honor to find a treatment setting and that is also so open to working with researchers and implementing evidence-based practice. So that was a long answer.
Anybody, any questions from the audience? Okay. So Ed, I've got a question for you. How do we get this information out to the world and get more women healthy? I know you talk about the depths that these women go through, and that's a type of education in itself. So how do we save more of these lives?
I think a big part of that type of scale and spread is the work that you did, Ash. I think really, you know, that it was a great capture of the hardest work that is done at the center for the 2 decades that I've been a part of it, and I think it was a really beautiful and honest depiction of the struggle that the ladies on the stage had in their own personal lives, and so many of all of the clients that we've served over the years. And to be able to capture the honest story of their struggle and the work that we do and that can be done everywhere else, actually, because it's not a matter of competition. You know, we do better work, so we should get the grant versus the other place, and we're better, and we should win the award, but it should be a cooperative process. And hopefully projects like this that show what we do, but what could be done everywhere around the country to improve the care, and to do that by listening to what works and just sitting down and doing it together. And that's what we've been doing. It's not like Jen Unger. Like, oh my God, like, how amazing is she? Like, you know what I mean? It's like you don't just like get there. It's built with people, and it's amazing what amazing people the center has captured. Like, we captured this guy. Like, he's from another state. And now he's in our net, you know, and in the web. And that's the amazing thing about the center of the last 2 decades. So we have the team, we have the talent, we have the stories. Hopefully telling the stories could do a lot for us.
Yeah, can you guys talk about that? What was that to have a group that not only cared about you, or not only cared about your child, but cared about both of you guys and the relationship within that?
So at the time when I entered CGE, I was so scared. I came in with the clothes on our back and my child, and I had no idea where to go or what to do. When I came to CGE, you know, I committed to the 6 months, but I actually ended up staying 13 and a half months. And around that 6-month mark, right, I had a meeting with my clinical team, who I viewed as my clinical team, and, you know, we talked about what was going to happen, and, you know, there was a moment there where they said, you know, Angela, you guys aren't going anywhere until you find a safe place, because I was awarded, I received the supportive housing, and I was looking for somewhere to live, but then COVID happened, you know, and that day, when they told me, you know, it was around the 6-month mark, and I'll never forget when they said, you know, you guys aren't going anywhere until you find somewhere safe to be. And at that time, I realized they were not only my clinical team, but they loved me as family, and they loved my son just as much. You know, and when I was able to, I let my guard down at that time, and I was able to finally start to love myself and do things for myself and complete myself. So when I'm whole, my son is whole. You know, and it's recently has been very stressful, things that have been happening, and you know, I realized that, like, you know, my son is so connected to me, right? Our relationship is so connected that, like, you know, when he sees me, you know, stressed out or going through something or even upset, right, it changes his dynamic. You know, that's how close our relationship is. But, you know, what I've learned at CGE, right, is when things happen, obstacles, you know, become in your way, and, you know, I could sit down with my son and say, yeah, mommy's having some big feelings, baby. Mommy's sad, mommy's going through something, but we're going to be okay. We're going to get through whatever it is that we're getting through. You know, and these things and these coping skills and these principles, you know, I finally accepted and chose to implement in our lives. Right, so our relationship is so strong now, right, that like, it's almost like, I'm trying not to cry, but God blessed my life and my son's life when we came to CGE, because I was so broken and I didn't know how to be a mother. You know, I didn't know how to build that relationship with him because I was absent. I wasn't there, you know, and they gave me a safe environment to be able to and learn what was happening, what had happened to me as a child up into my adulthood. And, you know, my defense mechanism is humor, right? So I turned the things that are terrible in my life into something funny. And I remember one day my therapist said, Angela, do you realize the seriousness of that situation you went through? You know, and I didn't even realize what was happening to me. So, like, before I realized what was going on and was able to work on these things, you know, my relationship with my son was kind of like, okay, like, he's my son and I have to take care of him because I'm his mother. You know, now the bond is so much, the depth to this relationship that we have. You know, and I think that when I look at, when things happen and things go wrong or I'm stressed out, I look at that little boy and the amount of motivation that just, like, goes through my body. Because, like I said before, you know, if my mission here on this earth is to be able to stop those generational curses and demons and addictions and, you know, gambling, and it goes on and on. You know, if my mission here is to stop that, I'm truly blessed to be in that position. You know, but like I said, CGE let me spread my wings. They let me spread my wings and be who they knew I was. And who also I knew my God intended me to be. You know, so the relationship is very important. you know, and absolutely the connection just, the feelings are very overwhelming sometimes, you know, it's so deep. And I'm truly grateful to be a part of this.
Denise brought up a very good point, and Jack, thank you for saying it's all about the relationship, because at the end of the day, that is the whole thing. And the most important thing is to share what we've learned. And we're doing that by creating a model, thanks to Denise and others at Rutgers. And it's called the Relational Recovery Model. And my team, they've been working on it for a year and a half now. And I think it might be finished in November. But we'll be able to share it with the world. And that's what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. Okay.
Any other questions from the floor? Okay. Oh, yes.
Actually, a good question for Angela and for Melissa. I don't know if it's the first time you're watching this whole film and seeing yourself laid bare to us as us about the same journey. Can you talk through some of the emotions you feel after you watch the film, seeing the progress, and does that hearten you to
So the questions for Marissa and Angela here. How was it watching the film, and what were their emotional reactions to it?
Okay, so how I'm feeling about it, it's very emotional, but very beautiful. I mainly participated to help other women that have the same story or similar story to mine. I did not expect to get away from the way I was living, an active addiction at all. I did not expect that, and you know, watching it, I'm proud of myself. Looking back, it's like a reminder of where I came from, and that's something that I try not to forget every day, even almost 3 years later, because I can easily fall back into that if I'm not continuing to work on myself and, you know, take the necessary means that I need to take every day to remain clean and sober. And you know, I'm happy to sit in front of you guys and you guys have seen, you know, me in like probably one of my worst times, and I don't know, I'm just very grateful. You know, I don't feel judged in front of you guys, and that's important to me. And to see you guys just watching it and taking time out to watch it means a lot to me. So overall, I'm just very, I feel okay because it's done with, and it's something that I truly experienced. And yeah.
The amount of feelings that I felt within the past hour and a half is outrageous. I was so excited to be here to see this, and you know, watching, even just, you know, I wasn't too in tune to Marissa's story, and just being up here and seeing our journeys and our stories. You know, there was a time where like I would be ashamed of that. There was a time that I would be ashamed of that. And, you know, I wouldn't want anyone to know what my past was like, but those experiences and what happened and what I went through made me who I am today. And I wouldn't change that for the world. So, like, I am so happy to be here, so happy that we experienced this documentary, and, you know, the lessons learned along the way are just something that, like, I just need to keep in my mind, you know. So it's a little like that was 3 years ago, 3 years ago already. My God, and the transformation even from then to now is just like the feelings, like it's excitement, you're scared, you're this, you're that, you know. It's just like an abundance of emotions, you know. It's like almost like you can't describe what that feeling is, you know. But like I said, you know, there was a time where I'd be ashamed of that, but today I'm not, you know, because the person I am today, you know, and I wouldn't choose that for the world. You know, those experiences, you know, I think about some of the things that I went through, and it's like I could sit here and say, oh my God, like I can't believe that happened, but no, like it happened, and what can we take from that? What can I take from that? Because I no longer play that victim role. You know, it's like, what can I do? What do I have to do? What fight do I have to fight? Because I'm doing it. You know, so like, it's like those feelings too, like you start to feel powerful because of what you've overcome and what you've been through, where you were 3 years ago versus, like, it's almost like, I don't know about you, but I know I don't give myself enough credit. I don't. So like to be here to see this and to be around everyone like this, and it's just, it's amazing. It's an amazing thing, and I'm so happy to be here.
Yes.
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you both for so articulately sharing your stories. We were out front earlier, and of course I'm on board, so I heavily support what Great Expectations has. And we're reading people's artwork and the passion that is there. And I said to my girlfriend, I said, if you can't come here and read this and not want to contribute, not want to help the CGE continue to do this kind of care for these women, you're crazy. Now with this film, with what you just shared, more people that see this film, more that the support will be there, and the more people growing, and more people will have the success we have. So thank you for sharing.
Okay, any other questions out here? Okay, so one thing that happened, unfortunately, during the making of the film is we lost Sister Rita Wilkie, who was one of the founders, along with Peg, for the Center of Great Expectations. She was a great loss. One of the things I think that was most powerful while I was interviewing her that she talked about is that, you know, it's easy to love a baby who has a mom who's struggling. It's easy to want to take care of that baby and help that baby, but sometimes it isn't as easy to care for the mom. Can you guys tell us why it is so important to not just give up on the mom, and why for that child's livelihood is it so important to take care of her?
You know, addiction is so profoundly misunderstood. And as we said over and over in this film, it's a disease. You know, people don't choose to use drugs or alcohol. They are mitigating pain. And the stigma attached to the use is profound. And it has to stop. We can't continue. We have to educate people, and we have to let them know that it's like any other disease. And we have to be treated with dignity and respect and care. You know, I often tell this story. My own doctor was very prominent and a dear friend of mine, and I never shared my recovery with him until, I don't know, 8 to 10 years ago, I guess. I'll have 36 years in July. And I said, by the way, I'm in recovery. And he said, you? Just like that, you? I said, shame on you. Yeah, me. So, you know, I think that's such a big piece of the work that needs to be done. That women need to be treated with dignity and care and love. And we need to share that, you know, shout it from the rooftops. So, it's my
I'd like to add to that, because just to give you guys a little bit of background, so I'm a child and adolescent and adult psychiatrist, but also a pediatrician. And for many years now, I've been working with a lot of women, and currently I'm working with several American Indian tribal nations in the upper Midwest and taking care of patients, and this issue comes up all the time. And what I will tell you is, so often there is such a fear in the women that I treat of not ever being able to be good enough as a mom. And so you may find yourself saying something like, even in the film, you said, when Ava was first born, the nurse was asking, or before she was born, she was asking, do you want to hold her, do you want to see her? And the first instinct was to say, no, no, because, and that's not because you didn't, I had been working with you for 4 weeks, leading up to that point where you delivered, right? And those comments were not out of, this is what I want. It was totally out of terror, absolutely being terrified. And when we are terrified, we say things and we do things that very often cause people to make assumptions. And those assumptions almost always are not accurate. And I think one of the things that my takeaway from watching this film today is don't ever assume. You know, it just, that simple little mantra is, if we can just remember that, because I think that both of you, I'm sure, with your journeys, encountered countless misinterpretations and misperceptions and misunderstandings from others of you. And people making lots of assumptions that you don't care and that you don't, you know, that in a way you're just not good enough in the way that they responded to you. And I think probably the most healing and important thing is that connection. Coming back to the question about, you know, the focus on relationships here. I'm convinced, Marissa, that your pregnancy saved your life. You know? And it's such a critical piece. And in fact, prior to coming here, I was trying to find the details for this. I was searching for my emails with Peg, and I found the very first email I sent Peg. When Marissa was in the hospital, we were trying to find a place for, actually, you had been discharged, but Ava was getting ready to be discharged. And we were trying to find a place. I was trying to find a place for you. And I knew that there was a place. There had to be a place. I just had to find it. And it took several hours of searching to find CGE and read about Peg. But in this email that I desperately wrote her saying, you need to help me here, one of the things I found myself describing was how incredibly transformative the bonding. Once Ava was born, watching Marissa attach and bond to Ava, and watching Ava, even in the NICU, bond to Marissa, that was a healing transformation in that moment. I mean, in those moments. And I think that is something that's just paramount to this process. When you're talking about women in recovery, and you're talking about mothers and recovery, you must treat the whole person and the village that exists. And I'm a firm believer in a village-based approach to care. And I think this is a good example of that. So.
Oh my God, who is this guy? It was so sweet. And you don't say that about psychiatrists, except for Eddie Reed. But it was just so warm and compassionate, and I want to help this one. And I was like, oh my God, we're going to do it. We did it. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Your point about the assumptions that people make, I think
Thank you. So I've been given a 5-minute warning here. So does anybody have any last thoughts, or would you ladies like to tell us what the, oh, yeah. Oh, yes, go ahead.
So you spent a lot of time creating this video. I mean, you, I think, spent 4 hours just with me. So I can't imagine the amount of hours that you spent, and the editing and the revisiting each and every single one of these stories. And I would love to hear what your takeaway is.
Well, thank you. Well, I've actually been sober for 15 years. So when I came across CGE, even though I did not go through that program, it was a similar thing in one of the programs I went through that finally got my attention after going through 3 rehabs. So to get to be around these women, and you know, we're all kind of on the same journey. They were just a little bit behind me on the journey, and it was amazing to see them and to say to them, you know, look where I've come in, you know, 10 years or 11 years or 12 years at that time. And, you know, I looked at people who had had a little bit of time under their belt when I just started getting sober, so that I could learn that I could live a life and that I didn't have to be afraid of the stigma attached to addiction. So it was a way for me to almost tell my story through these women. So it was a very powerful thing for me to get to be around them. It even helped me heal more, even that far into my own sobriety. And so I think it was just a way for me to tell my story through other people. So thank you guys for that. And so I guess one of my last questions here is what can people do to help? What can people do to support the mission of the center and the work that you guys are doing?
You can come and visit and sit with me, and I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you about what we need, and our needs will match your gifts. And if you have resources, that's a tremendous need. If you have time and talent, that's a tremendous need. And if you're willing to articulate what we're doing to other people, that's huge. You know, we can't do this work. I have a couple of my clinical folks with us this evening. They're just so brilliant and they work so hard. There's only 2 here, I think. So please give them a round of applause. And about the relationship, it's about creating safety for them as well. And we're really in a very difficult time right now with substance use, and just the entire environment is just charged. So I think the more loving and kind we can be to one another, that's a beautiful thing. But do come and visit me, and I'll talk with you personally about how you can help. And my clinical director I've known for 30 years, Dr. Lauren Vocatoro, is sitting there very quietly. Hello, Lauren. Wave. Okay. 30 years. That's a gift to me. I don't do anything without her permission. She knows that. So, and my dear husband, who supports me 100%. Hello, Robert. Thank you. Couldn't do this without him. And Ash is the bomb. You should check her out online. And she runs, you do these really cool, investigative, like video. I mean, it's really crazy. It's very, very inspiring, and you're brilliant, and it's been wonderful to work with you, and we'll do some more stuff for sure. And I just want to thank each and every person in this room. And we're blessed. We're really blessed. We're on this journey together, and that's how it works. Got to do it together. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I guess that wraps the program.
Okay.